Good morning, everyone. Hello, our trade friends. Welcome to the Simply Trade Roundup with Annik. That is me, if you don't know me by now. Nice to meet you. Today is a special episode, and I know I say this all the time, but it kind of truly is because we decided to go back to our roots where we started, and I brought in Lalo and Andy, which are the original hosts of the show, Simply Trade Podcast. But if you guys remember, we had our news roundup and we were always together and we kind of talked about the articles and what's going on. And then we kind of shifted to bringing on people to discuss the news and what's going on during the week, just because we wanted to give our listeners a little bit more rather than staying stagnant. And, we have to evolve. Everyone has to evolve. And so they have their own show. I have my show. And it's been going fantastic. And we're so glad that you guys support us. But we were thinking it was time for us to get into the studio together. So here we are. Hi, Andy. Hi, Lalo. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Hello, Annik. You've been doing a great job, I will say. I've told you this off camera. Is definitely proud of you and how things are going.
It's a weird time right now. And you know what? And that reflects in trade because there's a lot going on in trade right now. We're in a total transition period, or I don't even know if I should call it a transition period because we don't even know really what's happening. And we've seen some news, we've had conversation, and that's kind of what I want to touch on today. So this will be kind of like an intermission episode, I believe, because we'll kind of reflect on the conversations we've had. What's been talked about, what were the main things that people addressed, and then we'll go into like what our thoughts are moving forward. So let's see. Where you guys have been talking to so many people. I mean, I can't even keep up, honestly. But what is something that you guys talked about that stood out to you that was, okay, there's a really big change or a really big struggle in the industry that these people have been addressing? So what is that for you guys in your conversations?
Well, I will say that to me, it's what you've been hearing for the last several months. The Trump administration definitely has turned the supply chain industry and all that international trade upside down and all. But the one thing that I have found that seems to be pretty common is the Chicken Little effect. There's the sky is falling and whatnot. And quite frankly, it's like, we're at the end of life as we know it. Everything's going to crash and burn and whatever. The sad thing about that is the people that are hollering and screaming are only looking at the import side. Now, for me, I want to look at it holistically. And this is one of those things where, I mean, Annik, you and I have kind of locked horns a few times and others have. I look at it, U.S. goods have not been treated fairly. You can argue it. You can get mad at that statement. It doesn't matter. It's just, when we look at it both ways, all I'm looking at is now all of a sudden, some of these tariffs that are going in are going to level the playing field a little bit. And I'm thinking that the U.S. export opportunity is going to be astronomical. But along with that, I also say that the export opportunity, even for more Canadian goods and more Mexican goods, is going to be even stronger if we work together. But, that's the one thing is it's the Chicken Little effect. The sky is falling. Oh, no. And yet, we have to take a wait and see.
There's a big surprise that prices have really not gone up as expected regarding the higher tariffs. As it turns out, a lot of the importers are actually absorbing that higher rates that they're paying. Again, of course, they say that this is a little early. We've only had a quarter's worth of reporting, and the real number will come in around September, October, when 2 quarters are fully in, and we get to see that. And of course, remember we're coming into the Christmas season in about another quarter or so. So we need to see that. But the other thing that I see that is kind of confusing and a little alarming or strange is whenever we hear about trade deals or something that has been done, for some strange reason, we hear something coming, like from the administration, and something very different coming from the other side. Like the Japanese folks are saying, well, we didn't quite agree to all of this or whatnot, and so I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that we just literally need to wait and see when the actual regulation comes out, so we know exactly what was negotiated versus what is being said out in the media. Because again, we sometimes might react to a tweet or a media report that they may not be correct. So that's just has been my perspective in this whole this whole environment at this time.
That's a good point, because I think I've been hearing that a lot from every single guest. I would say that not to focus on the media, not to focus on the noise, rather focusing on the facts. It's funny. I talked to Eric Smithwise, and he brought up the letters, and he goes, those letters, first of all, had some grammatical errors, which that shouldn't be happening, right? If it's coming from the highest office you could possibly get it from. Even though I get it, like there can be errors anytime. People make errors, but really those letters and those letters were practically just for show, like just to give the community something to talk about, just to make sure like they know that this is real. And so that's another trauma. Like it's creating so much buzz and so much concern, and then it affects the stock market and all of the things that we're not really focusing on the actual facts, because right now nothing has happened. Nothing has happened, but there's been so much in the news, and it's kind of wild how there's so much chatter when there's actually nothing concrete, and things change all the time. Like right now, I think there was something said about Europe being at 30%. I'm not sure if that's from the European side or from the American side. Did you guys see that?
I think the August 1st is that Europe will have a 30%. Canada is 35%. Was it Mexico? I'm looking at it right now, 25. 30% for Europe and Mexico, and 25 on Japan and South Korea. I mean, it's all these things, but part of this scenario here is it's to get people to the table to literally negotiate. The one thing that's surprising to me as well is Brazil at 50%. The one thing I will say, and there's what? Well, it's either the political, friendships and things are there or not there, whatever. But the other thing, though, is Brazil's been a good trading partner in one respect. On the other side of the coin, Brazil has been notorious for making last minute duty rates changes and things of that nature. So that's another thing. There's, doing business with Brazil has not been easy. Same thing with, when I was saying also with India. Last year I was at Lalo and I were at a conference focused mostly on the automotive industry, and we were talking through some things. And to the point I'd asked the question is, what about sending a vehicle made in the U.S. or North America or whatever to Brazil? And they were like, oh, wow, and to India. It's been difficult. Now, saying that, I also say it's been, coming into the U.S., an automobile has been relatively low duty rate. Yet, somebody in the audience at the time said, well, yeah, talk about, though, pickup trucks. And they were right. I mean, there's a 25% duty rate in the U.S. on pickup trucks manufactured outside the U.S. So it's one of those things where trying to go through all this, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of change, a lot of things. Here's something, though, I think is really important. And by the way, that show with Eric Smithwise, folks, if you haven't seen that, was an outstanding show. Annik did a good job interviewing him, but Eric is phenomenal. But I will say this is that with all these trade talks and things, please make sure that you have relationships with companies and government officials and different things in different countries. Keep those, don't let the friction of governments cause friction with your relationships. Even if you agree to disagree on things, okay, fine, but you're still good friends, you're still good, acquaintances, whatever. But keep communications going. Don't let the emotion get caught up in things and cause a problem.
I agree. I mean, I agree with that. And communication is probably one of the biggest. I haven't heard communication recently a lot, but it's definitely come up. I think Heather Littman was the one who was really going on to communicating and being sure to be open with what you're doing and being transparent, because I think that's what's ultimately going to save you at the end. If you're scrambling and not being transparent with your partners, business partners, or your internal, then you might have some risk or some scrutiny there. Okay, so moving forward, we have August 1st coming very soon. Today is July 25th, but it is not when you're listening to it. You'll be listening to it, I think, the 30th? 28th. Oh, yeah, right. 28th. So that'll be like 3 days out before August 1st. By then, there could be a lot of changes happening still. But right now, we're set to see a lot of tariffs going up, rising. How is that going to affect the industry? Do you think there will be a lot of, how do you say, what is the word? I don't I will, yeah, maybe from other countries, but I'm saying internal with companies. How do you think they're going to react? Like, are they prepared? Do you think they're more prepared now than they were before?
I think, like, for example, I can give you a real simple example with the automakers. They're not happy that this Japan deal came through. Now the automobiles coming in from Japan are at 15%. While Mexico and Canada are facing 25% coming in from Mexico and Canada. Most U.S. autos that are assembled in the U.S. and or actually mostly in Mexico are coming in at 25% versus the 15% for Japanese. So that gives the Japanese a 10% duty rate advantage. And that also happens to be with all auto parts. So, I mean, things like that need to be negotiated or fixed, I would think, to give advantage to the domestic automakers. But you see, things like that are overseen, I guess just to get a win under your belt, it damages or hurts other industries like that. Again, I guess the onus is on the each individual country to negotiate something, but the indications are right now that Mexico and Canada will not have a deal by August 1st. So, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a really hard, tough bullet to bite for the automakers to have to pay 25% while the Japanese cars are coming in at 15%.
I can't even express how many things have changed, and they do overnight, and then we wake up and we're like, we can't cover that story anymore because it's not relevant. So that's been the challenge of ours. But let me ask you, I have a few questions, and these are kind of like fast-paced questions. So there's a lot of tech tools right now. There's a lot of trade tools. What's your favorite one at the moment? I know there's a lot of AI going on. What's like something you've heard about where you're like, wow, this is really like upcoming?
That's a good question. we have talked, Lalo, man, we've had quite a few. I'm going to defer that one to you, buddy. You're more the tech guy.
Well, I'm going to be a little biased, of course, because we are in the background working on something for USMCA that's AI based. So I'm going to say that one. It's actually really cool. We've gotten an MVP out of it, and it's very promising, and the way it takes apart and its bill of materials, and it using AI pretty much determines how or why it qualified under USMCA and why it didn't, and it flags parts that may have caused it not to have qualified. And so, I mean, like I said, I'm going to be a little biased. I didn't realize you were going to ask that question, Annik, but
well,
thank you.
I'm trying to keep you on your toes. Okay. One thing you changed about the industry if you had a magic wand. Anything. You can, it's your magic wand.
I would definitely, for me, it would be a closer collaboration and sharing data between countries, as well as information sharing between suppliers and buyers.
Yeah,
Yeah, Altana is a great one for that one, I think. Right? AI. Is that? I feel like it is. But shout out.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I could. I'm also thinking of our friend Megan Montgomery over at NCBFAA. She told me we're preparing to go out to Oklahoma City for their education conference out there, and she told me, look for me because I'm going to have either stickers or something. She said that I'm starting a new movement. It's called Make Trade Boring Again. So that's my answer, I guess. If you want an answer, it's it would be cool if trade was normalized in some way or another instead of reinventing the rules or whatever. So yeah,
it is a busy time in trade.
That's a good one. Okay, last one. Most overrated buzzword in trade at the moment.
Well, a while back I would have said blockchain, but
I have one.
What's that?
Tariffs.
I was going to say tariffs too. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Tariffs. Overrated because like it's just like such a buzz thing right now. I mean, we don't even know what's going to happen. By the time August 1st runs around, oh my God, we're probably not even going to have a change. But like we've been buzzing about it all weeks, right? I mean, it's crazy. All right. Well, we're not going to make this much longer. I did want to say that Lalo just brought it up that we're going to the GTE conference in Oklahoma City. So if you will be there, please say hi. And I'd love to chat and see what your ideas are, what your recommendation, concerns, whatever you have are. So we're wrapping this up. We have some really fun interviews coming up in the following week, especially after August 1st, but who knows what's going to happen. But to round this up, do you guys have any additional words you want to share?
Just look forward. Everybody's so keyed up on things, look at the opportunities, quit worrying about, oh no, we no longer have this, or this is going to be more expensive. Look at the opportunities for business on both sides. There's new suppliers out there, or different countries and all that. I mean, China's doubling down on a lot of things. And remember, China has played hardball, not just with the U.S., but every country. And this ought to be something where we can collaborate together. And again, look at the opportunities. I think they're phenomenal.
I think for us, there are some really cool things coming up, for guests on the podcast. But we also have a few little surprises on people who may be hosting our show here pretty soon. Not our show, but a show, different shows. We're still but Andy and I have a really cool episode planned in collaboration with another very, very popular podcast. I'm not going to say who or anything like that, but because I want it to be a surprise. And coming in maybe late August, we're so excited to collaborate with this other group, who I'm sure lots of our listeners are cross listeners between both our podcasts, and we're really looking forward to that episode. So, but anyway, just stay tuned, and hopefully it will be as good as I've hyped it up here.
No, it will be fantastic. I'm so excited for that. I mean, obviously I know who it is, but whoever doesn't, just be prepared and watch out for it, because you will. I think it's going to be so fun.
Hey, I just had one thing is I still, at some point, Annik, we need to plan on putting together a panel of Gen Zers to come on and have a discussion with me. I would love to talk through some things. I think it'd still be fun, especially if they're trying to barbecue me.
We'll call it the controversy talk.
I love it.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think I need to really get behind that. It's interesting because I want to find some trade people, it's so hard, but there is people out there, hopefully after ICPA, because I know there's going to be a lot of newbies in the Dallas conference. So I hope to find some there that we can bring on. So.
Well, you know what? And I got to say, when we were, again, it was in Detroit, Lalo, you and I had some great discussions with some college students there that, it was absolutely, we had a roundtable discussion that was phenomenal. And I loved it.
Yeah, I remember that. No, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Maybe we'll figure something out. But again, to the listeners, thank you so much for supporting our podcast. The best way to support is really to go check out our sponsor, Global Training Center, to take courses with them, to educate yourself, obviously to listen to our episodes, to follow us on LinkedIn and check out everything we're doing there. And that's all we have for today. I know this was a little bit of an intermission episode, but we'll be back next week. Ooh, and I think that'll be about August 1st. So we'll see what happens there. Anyways, have a great week and we'll see you back next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.